Hi, Scrappy friends. So I have a special layout for you today for a design team call for the SNL design team that is on YouTube. And I wanted to submit this just because this is such a fun design team that puts out lots of fun little challenges to use up your stash and to get creative, and I really find them inspiring. And so I thought that it would be fun to submit. Whether or not I get picked, I still am going to scrap and create and share my stuff with you guys, but I just thought it would be fun. So I am gessoing this piece of just white cardstock, and this is just a cheapo brand. I like to use regular if I can, but sometimes it's just cheaper to go to my local craft store and buy a cheap pack of like 25 pages. So that's what I had done because I was really using up a lot of white. And so, I mean, a lot of times I back these up. So the fact that it's a little bit thinner isn't that big of a deal. The only thing I will say is that, especially this one, it warped a lot because of what all the mixed media that I did on it. So I am using old colors that I had made up for another layout just to get them used. A lot of times these are watercolors in that palette. And if I have a lot of extra, a lot of times I'll just let it sit. And these watercolors are the watercolors that you are liquid in the tubes and then you mix them with water. And so I find that they rehydrate pretty well. So there's like a yellowy, like gold ish color. And I am also mixing some of, I like to use the Wilton's food coloring gel sometimes for a watercolor. I really like the vibrant colors that are there. And I have a ton because I used to bake a lot and I don't use them very often. So I have a ton of them. And so I've just moved them, the ones that I didn't use and hadn't opened, and took them and put them in my scrapbooking stuff. So I will say that obviously you don't want to mix something that you use food in, and so you only want to keep it with your scrapbooking stuff if you use it. But I also use some of that really light pink gelato just because I thought that adding a little bit of orange tones to the that yellow would make it not look so, I don't know. It was very mustardy type of a yellow, and I was wanting it to be a little brighter. So I was trying to add some other colors just to kind of get the color that I wanted. And I find that that's the best and the funnest part of using mixed medias and making your own colors is that you can take a color that isn't really what you were looking for and kind of add other colors to it to make it brighter or funner, or more of a color that you would use or that is going to match with maybe some of the papers that you want to use. So that I used some of that blue that I had mixed up with the watercolor, and then I added some blue, metallic blue, and then some of that teal, metallic teal. And I just blended it with my finger, and then I added the water to it. And I find that with the gesso, it really slides around and it mixed really well. And I really like how there's the darker tones and the lighter, the greens and stuff kind of mixed up. It kind of reminds me of like water, maybe. And since I live in Hawaii, I mean, I'm always inspired by water. So I am taking some modeling paste, and this is more of like a whipped, like a lighter modeling paste. So it's very whippy. It's like really airy. So I don't mind that it's a lighter consistency, but if you are afraid that it's not going to hold very well, you might want to use a thicker one. And I really like the way that this like honeycomb effect looks on that background. And so here I'm adding some embossing powder. And I had actually seen Tim Holtz do this on one of his tags on the CHA feed, and he just added the embossing powder right on top of his modeling paste when it was wet. And so I'm going to try this and see how it works out. I've mixed it in with the embossing powder and I didn't like the effect. Like it didn't really work because it was already mixed in and the crystals and the embossing powder like really got coated with the modeling paste and I didn't think it did anything. So I'm going to try this out and see how it works. So I'm looking through my die cuts with a view packs because I thought that what a better way to do a video, for a design team call that uses stash using stash. Now, these packs I got when I first started scrapbooking about a year ago. And, you see this pack with all these papers in it, and you're like, oh my gosh, amazing! Lots of paper. But you don't think about the fact that it's 180 sheets, and a lot of them have like three or so papers of each sheet. So I still have like five of those packs, and a lot of them are antique and I don't use that style very often anymore. I find it really, really hard to use those darks. So I thought that it would be really fun to mix that with some newer papers to get a fresh look. And I mean, as you can see with my background, there are a lot of colors that are bright. And so I challenged myself to use these darker colors to mix in with brighter colors to see what I could come up with. So I've let this sit for a little while and it probably could have sat longer. I know in his video he said that you should really let it dry completely. I'm impatient, so I couldn't do that. And I really wanted to try to get this part done before I picked out a lot and did a lot of my layering of my things. So if you don't want it to bubble up, because this is what I found, that when I was heating it up, because the paste wasn't dry all the way, it bubbled up a lot with the heat. And I found that I had to go over this like four or so times, I think. I went over each one to really, really get it heated because it needed to be really, really hot. So, because of my paste not being completely dry, like this would have been something good to do overnight so you really let it dry. Like I said, I didn't do that. So I really like the effect and I'm trying to show you guys, but I don't think you can see it very well. On the stills, you can see how shiny it is and it looks awesome. So besides the fact that it's a little bubbly, which I don't mind that texture, but for some people that might not be cool. So if you don't want it to bubble, I would definitely suggest, leaving it overnight. I mean, there's no rule that says you have to finish your layout in one sitting in one day. So, you could do that at night, let it sit, and then come back the next day, and it was going to be hard, and then your paste isn't going to bubble up as much. It still might bubble a little bit, but it probably wouldn't bubble up as much. So I really like this paper, and this is from one of the die cuts with the view pack that's like really antique-y, and it has those really bright tie-dye colors that are similar to the colors in my layout. And in the background it has like flowers and then it has like music sheet notes. And so I'm just going to use a little bit of that to border my picture. And I thought that the darker color would work well as a border. And so I'm going to use this side of that Maggie Holmes from the Open Book collection. And I really liked that pink. It was really, really soft because it's like an ombre, like from a white linen to that like really light pink. And then I have that piece. So I'm just kind of looking around to see which ones. And I'm really not sure how this is going to work because these are all patterns that are either bold or like really crazy. And I know this was definitely crazy of me. But in the end, I really, really like the way that it looked. And so I really tried to keep tight, tight layers. Like just a little tiny bit hanging out off of the end so that you could just see bits and pieces of the colors. And I'm trying to keep more of the blues toward the bottom and the pinky orangey colors towards the top so that it really, really you can see that progression from the blues to the yellows since that's how it looks on my paper. And then I'm going to mat everything on that black and white stripe, or it's like a gray from Maggie Holmes. And then this is a piece of corrugated paper from the one of the Amy Tan lines. It's not from this one, so I don't know what one it's from. It's old. Um, and so I'm trying to figure out if I want it that way or straight up and down, but I really like it in that gap where I didn't put anything. I think it really like kind of connects everything, and it's definitely a teal. It's kind of hard to see it. So I'm going to put these on pop dots because since I did all that texturizing of my background, I didn't know how it was going to lay flat. So I thought that maybe just by putting it on pop dots, it would help. And I really like the way that that looks because it just kind of raises everything and it really does make the picture stand out. And I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, in the end, yes, I want my layouts to have like a cute or artsy look to them, but I'm really doing it because I want to share, and share and remember this moment. So, this photo. So now I'm looking through tidbits of some of my stuff, and those are from Scrubtastic. They're from like their cut and print sheets. So I don't have a silhouette, so I just printed those off, you know, on my computer. And I like to use the matte paper, the matte photo paper for those because it's a little bit thicker, but then I don't have to cut a piece of cardstock down. So really, it's kind of does does double duty. And so I'm looking for the blues and teal, aqua colors, and then like the yellowy colors. And I found a couple, but at this point I'm having a hard time because I'm not sure exactly what I want to do, and I want to keep it really simple. So here's a couple of wood veneers that were from maybe last month's Scraptastic kit. I don't remember. A lot of my kits I've just kind of been like almost piling together because I haven't used much of it. And those are from Amy Tan, this or bowl I'm going through. I try to keep my embellishments together by collection because that's kind of how I think. A lot of times when I'm scrapping, I will usually go for a certain collection, even if I mix them. I, I think about it in the collection. So that's kind of how I try to keep everything organized in my scrappy area. And I know she has a lot of bright colors, that those watercolors. So I'm looking through seeing what colors, and I found a few pieces. Like I said, I had a hard time and I had to go away and come back the next day because I just felt like I was just pushing stuff around for a while and nothing was happening. So I came back, and so this is the next day, and I remembered I had those Dear Lizzie watercolor words, and they're bright. They're just like a watercolor papery almost, maybe a little bit thicker than that. And I found one that says love this, and I really like that. And I decided to not do anything to them because I really like the way that it stands out on that corrugated paper. That white, it kind of breaks up all the color that I have. So I'm really glad that I remembered that I had these, which is why it's important for me to keep stuff out so I can see it. I don't know how you guys are about if you see something on your desk, then you're more apt to use it. Sometimes I'm not like that. Sometimes if I know I have a piece of paper in a drawer, I will pull it out if that's something I want. But sometimes I forget that, oh yeah, I have something that will work for this, this project or this layout that I'm working on. So I just glue that down with glossy accents, and then I'm going to glue a lot of this down with glossy accents. I was trying to figure out what I thought was going to work the best because I have all that texture. I really don't want all this stuff coming off. But I thought that um, hopefully the glossy accents will help keep everything. So here I'm journaling, and I just put on my thing. I said, at the park and splash pad with a frozen Go-Gurt with my little man just makes my heart super high. These moments are just precious. And then I wrote your smile equals love, and then I wrote summer 2014 because this was taken during the summer of you know, this last summer. So I did all that, and so now I'm trying to figure out if I want to put them on pop dots, and so I decide I do. And I just have a roll of like the foam tape now. I used to use pop dots, but I find that different brands are different thicknesses, and I don't like that. So instead of having to search for that one brand that I really like, it's just better to get the roll. And I really like the thickness of that. For the most part, it works pretty well. And it kind of lasts a little bit longer. Now, I don't have a really big roll, as you can see, because I was trying it out. And I didn't want to buy a big roll before finding out that I didn't like it. That's one of my suggestions that I will say that I have being a newer scrapbooker, and I've really tried to take the advice of a lot of seasoned scrapbookers because, I figure they know a lot more since they've been in, doing it a lot longer, is, not overbuying. Like if there's something I want to try, I just buy a few of something. If I'm not sure I'm going to like a collection, I just buy the embellishment pack or buy a 6x6 pack pad. And then that way I can kind of use a little bit of it and then decide if I like it, before buying everything. No, I'm not saying that you can't buy everything because, hey, I went out and I bought a lot of the Maggie Holmes stuff from her new collection, and I'm still going through it. And at this point, I'm kind of ready for it to be done. So I wished I had taken my own advice and just bought a few less pieces of it, but that's okay, you know. So on that card, it says today is, and then I put fun. And I just used black. I thought the black would once again just break up all that color because there is a lot of color. And I try to stick with the same colors in the groups, as you can see. That, and so here I'm putting enamel dots, and I couldn't decide exactly where I wanted them. Um, and then up on in each section, I have a wooden sequin. I really wished I had wooden hearts or stars, but I didn't have any. So I use them so quick. And so here are just some sequins in the colors that I use the gelatos and watercolors in. And I think that is pretty much it. I really, really wanted to keep this simple because of all the colors, and I just loved the way the background turned out that I didn't want to take away too much from that. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing. Oh yeah, I decided that I didn't like that there, and I moved it down there. And I'm gonna add a wooden. Oh yeah, I use these wooden or these corks that I use a little bit of the glitter liquid on. And so here are gonna be my close-ups. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and um, I will see you guys next time. And I hope you guys have an inspired week. I'll talk to you later. Bye.